I just finished reading Atomic Habits. In this video, I'm going to share with you what I learned and what it has to do with me being in this freezing water at 7 AM on a Saturday.
This isn't going to be a review video. You can find plenty of those on YouTube already, but just so you know, I did really enjoy the book and it's definitely worth reading. But if you don't have the time to read the book, here are the most important things I learned and how I'm implementing what I learned in my life. But first, I think it's probably a good idea if I dry off a little. That's better. Okay, so the first thing I learned from Atomic Habits is that small increases can make a big difference over time. A good example of this is the stock market. If you regularly invest in the stock market, your investments will compound over time, which can result in massive returns over a long enough time horizon. This same principle can be applied to make compounding returns in your life. A 1% increase isn't an amazing improvement in the grand scheme of things, but over time this can make a big difference. If you can make just a 1% increase every day, after a year you will have made a 37x improvement, which is just mental. We can look at the British professional cycling team as a prime example. Dave Brailsford was hired in 2003 as the new performance director after nearly 100 years of disappointment. He catapulted the cycling team to success by making tiny improvements and adjustments. Since 1908, British cyclists had won only one Olympic gold medal, but during 10 years between 2007 and 2017, British cyclists won 178 World Championships, 66 Olympic and Paralympic gold medals, and 5 Tour de France victories, all thanks to tiny improvements. You can apply this idea to any aspect of your life you want to make improvements to, whether that's your health, your career, a hobby, or even a business you own. The most important thing I took from Atomic Habits was learning about the process of building a habit. This can be divided into 4 simple steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. Let's look at a super simple habit most people perform daily to explain what that means. First, the cue of a habit triggers your brain to initiate a behaviour. For example, you walk into a dark room. Next, the craving is the motivational force behind the habit. What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change it delivers. For example, you want to be able to see. The response is the actual habit. You flick the light switch. Finally, the response delivers a reward. Rewards are the end goal of every habit. You've satisfied your craving and now you can see. The real power of Atomic Habits comes from the 4 laws of behaviour change. This is a practical framework you can use to form good habits easily. You can also use this framework to break bad habits by inverting each of the 4 laws. Let's see what that looks like. Make it obvious. The first law of building a good habit is to make it obvious. You need to make the cues of good habits obvious and visible. Having a clear cue is the way to start a new habit. If you want to break a bad habit, you need to reverse this first step. So instead of making it obvious, you make it invisible. Out of sight, out of mind. You need to edit the cues of bad habits out of your life. The second law is make it attractive. If you want to increase the odds that a behaviour will occur, you need to make it attractive. The goal is to make the habit as appealing as possible to get things going. The inverse of this is make it unattractive. If you want to cut out your bad habits, you need to reframe your mind, find where your desire is coming from, and try highlight the benefits of avoiding the habit to make it seem unattractive. Make it easy. When you're at the stage of actually doing the habit, you need to make sure the habit is as easy as possible to perform. You need to reduce friction, decrease the number of steps involved, and prepare your environment to make sure that future actions are as easy as possible. So to break a bad habit, you need to make it difficult. You need to increase the number of steps involved between you and your habits. Essentially, you need to do anything and everything you can to make sure your bad habits are impossible. The fourth and final law of behaviour change is to make your habits satisfying. The more satisfying a habit, the more likely you are to stick to it. The best way is to create immediate rewards to help with reinforcement. And as you've probably already guessed, the inverse of this is to make your bad habits unsatisfying. To do this, you can get an accountability partner who will keep you accountable for your actions. Now let's revisit why I've been chilling in the cold New Zealand water. I'm constantly trying to form new habits to help me achieve the success I'm working towards, and the habit I'm focused on building at the moment is introducing cold plunges into my schedule. I don't have an ice bath, but fortunately I live right beside the next best thing, the sea. I decided I wanted to try out cold water therapy after learning about the benefits from scientists Andrew Huberman and Gary Brecka. I'm not a scientist myself, so I'm not going to explain the benefits, but if you are interested in learning more about cold water therapy, you should definitely check both of them out. My plan is to cold plunge in the mornings 3 times a week for about 4 to 5 minutes each time I plunge. I'll wake up at about 6:30 and it will be the first thing I do after I've got up. Getting up and going for a plunge in the cold New Zealand water isn't exactly an attractive proposition, so here's how I'm going to be using the 4 laws of behaviour change to my advantage. Step 1, making it obvious. My way of making it obvious is setting out exactly when and where I'm going to be getting in the water, which is Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at roughly 7 AM near the jetty, 1 minute from my house. I also have a floating thermometer which I take with me to check the temperature of the water. I keep this in my bedroom, which also serves as a visual reminder. Step 2, making it attractive. You might be thinking, how can you make freezing your ass off first thing in the morning attractive? For me, this is where mindset comes into play. What's attractive isn't the act of actually getting in the cold water, it's about the benefits associated with regularly exposing my body to cold water. It's my why, or in other words, the reason why I'm doing it in the first place, that makes it attractive. Step 3, making it easy. The goal here is to reduce the number of steps required in the morning to make it as easy as possible to get out in the water. So the night before, I'll lay out my swim shorts, my towel, my coat and my shoes next to my bed, ready for the next morning. Step 4, making it satisfying. This is the easy part. After I get out of the cold water, I feel incredibly refreshed and invigorated. It's an unbelievable feeling that keeps me coming back for more. So that's how I'm using what I learned from Atomic Habits to make some positive changes to my own life. If you haven't read the book yet, it's definitely worth a read, especially if you're trying to reach your true potential. Anyway, as always, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you in the next one.